I forgot one time, and it was a nightmare. All right, so we're being recorded. Welcome to August State TA Day. Summer is flying by. Saw some leaves changing up in the mountains, just on the little tiny plants, not on the big plants yet, but it's happening. So to kick us off today, my good friend Connie, tell us how to pronounce your last name now.
Zabalaga.
Zabalaga is going to be presenting on a really exciting new opportunity that we have here at the state. All right, Connie, you should be able to share. If not, I'll make you a presenter.
All right, let me see if I can. And then a tab. Oh, look at these. Okay, can you see that presentation?
Yes, Connie, it looks great.
Okay, perfect. I'm so happy that this is working. All right, so I guess I cannot do these. I cannot switch it from here. Sorry, like I said, this is my first time. And I lost my presentation. So I cannot move this. I'm so sorry about this, Charlie. I should have practiced this before.
No, you're doing great.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today to tell you about the peer mentorship pilot program that we're launching with the state. So right now, we are in the process of getting applications for this program. So I'm super excited. We've been getting a lot of good interest across the state. Where we're still like trying to get more participants is from our Spanish-speaking providers. So I'm hoping that with your help, we can get more participants. So we're creating a teacher peer mentor pilot program to improve the retention of new and existing teachers. And it's going to be for teachers that work with children birth through 5. And the goal is to enrich relationships in early childhood to enhance practices. The program will start in September, so we're getting really close. Like Charlie said, summer is really it's ending for us here pretty fast. So we want a cohort of 30 teachers for these first 6 months, 15 Spanish speakers and 15 English speakers. So like I said, we have a lot of interest from English speakers, but we're falling behind on Spanish speakers. So we're really hoping to get more applications in the next few days. Programs that allow teachers to participate will receive funding for substitutes so that the teachers can meet for reflective practice. And then teachers who participate in the program will receive a stipend for their participation. Any questions so far? And I can't see you, so I'm sorry.
I'm not seeing any questions. If I see any in the chat, I'll let you know.
Okay, perfect. And then what does the structure of the program look like? We're hoping that we will have 6 modules and that will support the mentors through 24 weeks and 6 mentoring cycles. So in addition to the training, the mentors will participate in 6 communities of practice, and then they will meet with their mentee weekly, every 2 weeks. And they will set goals, create like relate items, and then think of action steps, and then assess their progress. So that it's a reflective meeting that they will have twice a month. So who is eligible to become a mentor? So anyone working in a program that's been open prior to 3/11/21, and that's just because of our funding. And anyone that's been in the early childhood field for a few years and feels that they're experienced enough to mentor others. So we really want to think about that self-efficacy. We didn't want to put any barriers on the teachers. If they feel that they can mentor others, and then they can participate. And then anyone who has identified a peer in their program who wishes to be mentored. So we want to avoid teachers not having those opportunities to meet with their mentees. So that's what we're not doing, mentors and mentees pairs from other programs, because we want to remove that barrier of time. So if they're in the same program, then they're more likely to meet with their mentee. So how do I sign up for the program, and how do I know I've been chosen to participate? So the first step is to fill out the interest form, and we have that available in English and Spanish. And potential participants have until the 29th to apply for the program, so until Monday. And we will review applications and have a list of participants by the first weeks of September, and then we will notify them via email. So that is all, I think. So I do have some frequent asked questions that I'll send to Charlie to share with you guys. And then if you have potential participants, Charlie will also have a copy of the presentation today that you can share. The interest forms have been embedded into my PowerPoint presentation. Any questions? Nope.
No, I'm not seeing any.
All right, well,
You're
thank
that
you
good.
so much.
Oh, wait, we have a question from Brenda.
All right,
It's
Brenda.
not a question, but a comment, Connie. I just want to thank you because I think mentorship is so valuable for the field. And it's nice to see this thing happening as it already does happen for K through 12. But now that's starting to happen here. So thank you for all this work.
Thank you, Brenda. I am so excited and so honored to move forward this pilot program, and I think that once we get the cohorts going, it's going to be great. The cohort is going to be 6 months, so they're going to be happening throughout the year. Yeah, we have funding until 2024 for this program, and hopefully it will continue to be that way. Sorry, my computer is like, I keep getting like notifications. Yeah, the next cohort after these two groups will launch in the spring. Thank you, Angela. So yeah, I encourage you to share with your councils, with your programs across the state, so we can get more participants, especially for the Spanish-speaking teachers. Right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Connie. I'm super excited to launch this, and it just sounds like such a cool opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie.
All right, Christine. Oh, look at that. Ready to go. Thanks, Christine.
Of course. Thank you, Charlie. Connie's so awesome that peer mentorship is being highlighted. Thank you for being here and having a dynamic cohort. I'm going to share today's slides in the chat, and just want to point out that you can access these at any time. These are going to be the slides that give you heads up on the Family Child Care Home Pre-Licensing Training Project. We've just launched our curriculum materials, and I got a lot of great updates to share. My name is Christine Bauer. I work for the Colorado Department of Early Childhood as Coaching Instructional Design Coordinator, and that gives me the honor of working with coaches across across the state and other leaders that really support our workforce. So I've been excited to be engaged in this Family Child Care Home project and bring it across the finish line. And I look forward to hearing from our trainers across the state as you implement this curriculum that we'll all be using by January 1st, 2023. So just want to dive in. If you do choose to open those slides, you'll notice that some of the text in the slide deck is blue and underlined. At any time, you can select that and it'll just get you quickly to the spot online or the resource that that's referencing. So just want to point that out. This gives you a little project timeline. We've shared this with you before, but I just want to point out the intense thought and all of the feedback that's gone into this project. It started with my colleague Sybil Holmes back in October 2021, and a variety of trainers who were willing to opt in and adopt the pilot curriculum. So we have you to thank for some of this revisioning and some of the additional resources we were able to build out with your insights. We released the pre-licensing curriculum and it's now available in the PDIS, accessible for anyone who has a trainer credential and chooses to go through the other prerequisite trainings to access the Train the Trainer and deliver this curriculum. So that was just Tuesday. So here we are on Thursday and we have one trainer approved so far. We're really excited that she dove right in and are grateful to her for her process. Thank you, Sheila. Some of the frequently asked questions, just want to reiterate that we have updated the adoption date for this curriculum to be January 1st, 2023. And that's because we got some feedback from you about equity. We thought about how we're releasing the English materials right now, but they have gone back to our colleagues at Ed Northwest to translate. So we don't yet have the Spanish curriculum available to you. So we'll have that by November or December of this year. And then we're requiring that everybody adopt both sets of curriculum by January 1st. Now you can begin to use the English curriculum, of course, and we'll be excited to see who does and who becomes approved for the new curriculum. I am able to go over a variety of topics today, but for our time today, I just want to point out that you can add any of your needs, what's really at the forefront of your mind, to the chat, and I'll try to cover that. But I'm mostly going to focus on the curriculum and the process to become a trainer for the Family Child Care Home pre-licensing curriculum. We are pretty familiar with what the pre-licensing curriculum is, but it has really expanded in the materials that we're offering around this curriculum now. So want to share some of the key differences in our curriculum materials since pilot, because a lot of our early childhood council folks and family child care NAVs, or those NAVs to be, were a part of that pilot experience. We've developed a facilitator guide that spans the entire 15+ hour curriculum, and we've made a participant guidebook that looks very similar, but it's just for our participants. It's really going to help them navigate the curriculum from start to finish, and also allow a variety of reflective questions and activities that they can revisit on their own after we're done training. The purpose behind that is that there's a lot of work to do on this journey of becoming a family child care home provider. And we know that it doesn't end after training. So to really support that learning transfer, to have those scaffolds to develop our policies and to get those embedded into our handbook, we wanted to make sure that that was all present in the participant guidebook so that they have that as a tool to revisit ongoing. Our slide presentation is now divided by modules, so it's easier to download and easier to reference. And then we've also got the PowerPoint and Google slide decks for you. So if you have a preference on how you present, you're going to be able to see your key points in both of those. We've also created the training resources, placed those online, and made them publicly available so that any participant in family child care home pre-licensing training that's coming to your training, or maybe one of your colleagues' training offerings, they're going to be able to see all those links and resources right at their fingertips with one major link to the Tools and Resources website. There, they're going to see quick links to rules and regs, administrative guides, and other things we use on the regular. And hopefully it will help in answering some questions and getting them to resources they need right away, because we have some buttons here that will take them right to things that we use all the time, like the provider hub. So we want to make sure that those are all easily accessible. and easy to find again later on after you're done with training. We're also going to have a link to the participant guidebook and training slides, opportunities for participants to evaluate the training so that we can learn on the training team what's been effective, what they feel is most relevant, or whether or not the training felt too difficult. We've also organized all the policies and procedures to help folks as they begin that process of writing their handbook that's shared with parents and those other policies around substitutes and whatnot that they're going to need in their programs. And then we've got all of our modules separated by module and presented in the order that they're presented in training. So that hopefully just allows you a little bit less of that navigating a virtual training or in-person training and getting all the resources in one place. If you find or your staff members find that there's any feedback on these, gosh, do we want to know? So let us know. We're going to do some really formal evaluation at 6 months and 12 months after folks can dive into the curriculum. And that'll help us as we reversion the curriculum whenever we need to for, let's say, the future family child care home updates. A little bit more about what has changed. This is specifically about requirements. So I'm going to go over those trainer requirements first. And go ahead, Daisy Thompson.
Hi, so the tab that you just had open, your FCCH pre-licensing training, that's available when we finish our Train the Trainer. Is that what that is?
Absolutely, and it's actually available to you now. So if you want to dive in there,
Yeah.
go ahead. And sorry I didn't share that earlier, but please know that I'm totally open to feedback here. My boss and I really thrive off of making things more relevant and resourceful. So Daisy, you're going to give me some great insights after exploring, I hope.
I absolutely will. Thank you so much.
And it could be today, it could be a month from now, it could be 6 months from now, and we'll be excited to hear. In the meantime, I'm going to add our training email to the chat, so that if anything comes up for you, if you're an early adopter or you have been doing this for 30 years, we want to know your insights. So please don't hesitate to reach out to Jen and I about this curriculum or about any of the curriculum materials. So who can teach this course? There have been some changes, obviously, from the prior approval process to the approval process now. And want to point out that every trainer that's going to be approved by the Colorado Department of Early Childhood to offer family child care home pre-licensing training needs to have an early childhood professional credential. Now, maybe you earned that early childhood professional credential in the old PDIS system. As long as you've got a level 3 or higher, you are then able to use that to apply for your trainer credential when you complete the department approved training requirements. So those are the Adult Learner Series and the Training Design Series. You can learn more on the Colorado Shines PDIS when you go to that drop-down menu and you see Learn More About Credentials, or you can open this slide deck and select that underlined blue text and it'll take you right to it. So again, revisit this slide deck as needed ongoing. I also like to just share out the newsletter announcement that went out a week or so ago, because this really makes it easy if you've got anyone on your team that's wondering about first, second, and third steps. Always great to revisit that initial newsletter about how to become a trainer. I've got some frequently asked questions, some helpful links in this slide deck, and also just want to point out a couple differences in requirements since pilot with this curriculum. So with the pilot curriculum, we got some feedback from folks ongoing as they, early adopters see a lot. And so it's been really nice to see what has been important from the perspective of trainers and what's been shared by early participants. And we've been able to embed some of that feedback in the final curriculum that we have now launched as of Tuesday. Now what we're going to do is go through a formal feedback cycle at 6 months and 12 months. But as I mentioned, please reach out to us via email if you've got any insights you want to share right away. The early childhood professional credential and trainer credential were not required when folks adopted the pilot materials, but will be required in order to become an approved trainer on that Colorado Department of Early Childhood approved trainer list that I'll highlight in a minute. Also want to point out that we are now approving instructors as individuals. We're no longer approving vendors. So what that means is that we used to approve an organization, and that organization would determine what people were going to instruct the curriculum. Now we're actually approving by individual trainer. So each individual is going to earn that early childhood professional credential, the trainer credential, and become an approved instructor and listed on the Department of Early Care and Learning approved trainers for family child care home pre-licensing. As I mentioned, we're all going to start using this curriculum by the 1st of next year. I do wonder, the amazing Charlie, if you might be able to give me a little time check so I can adjust to the needs of today's TA.
Yeah, you have about 4 more minutes on the schedule.
Great. Thank you, Charlie. So before I go into anything more in depth, I do want to pause and make sure I don't have any questions in the chat, or give you an opportunity to jump off mute and ask a question right away as well. Will the individuals be identified what agency they're associated with on the approved trainer list? Well, let's look at that list, and we're going to see the information included. All right, so here I am on the public facing list for all of the CDEC approved training vendors for specific curriculums, and I'm going to share that in the chat. Here, you can go to the bottom of the screen and you're going to be able to select by training type. This is where you're going to see our currently approved pre-licensing trainers. You'll also see that some of our dynamic folks like Mary are also approved to offer other training curriculums like Safe Sleep and whatnot. You're also going to see the language that they provide the training in, the county that they offer this training to, which is some of us go virtual. You may be able to offer to more than one county. I know a couple early childhood councils working together to get the providers in their counties all trained in one cohort. You're going to see a website that will help link to more information about this trainer, and an email address to get in contact, a phone number and an address. So everyone's training approval is going to expire within 3 years. But what I like to point out is that as you're going through the training approval process, we have prerequisite courses that you'll have to take. Once you take those prerequisite courses, you'll have access to that Train the Trainer curriculum and be able to go through the Train the Trainer curriculum in the PDIS, which will automatically release the training materials to you. So as you go through this approval process, it's really online self-paced and it's in your hands. That being said, if you are a trainer that's working on getting your trainer credential, I would be happy to hear from you at that CDEC_Colorado Shines training at state.co.us to hear from you and make sure that we can prioritize that processing of your ECPC or your trainer credential so we can get you on the ground working with this curriculum as soon as you'd like to. You can also view the list of required trainings for family child care home providers in this slide deck. Again, like to point out that it is only the online self-paced trainings that we as trainers are required to take in order to offer this curriculum to providers. For example, we've got Med Admin. We only need to take part 1, which is the online self-paced of medication administration as trainers, because we're not delegating any medication. And so it's only part 1 we do online. Part 2 is going to be offered to providers, but not a requirement for us to take to become a trainer. So before I wrap up today, I just want to make sure to run through that trainer approval process one last time. We're going to earn that early childhood professional credential, apply for a trainer credential, complete those prerequisite courses that are online and self-paced that are also required for family child care home providers, and then go through the online self-paced Train the Trainer course in the PDIS. Immediately, those curriculum materials will be released to you, and I'm excited to say we've already approved 1 new trainer. Again, thank you, Sheila, for going through the process and, wow, just being ready to dive right in and offer this curriculum ASAP. So we're excited to hear from folks as you do this and just appreciate all of the work that you've done before, after, and during this adoption of the new curriculum, and happy to hear from each of you. So thank you for your time. If anyone would like to join me to ask any questions about becoming a trainer for this curriculum, I'm going to dive into an open Google Meet right now, and you can follow this link I'll throw in the chat to join me. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, Christine. Wow, this is some incredible work, and it's cool to see how far we've come. All right, Angela, you are up next.
Thank you. I was waiting for Christine to stop presenting, and I will have my presentation up in just a second. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Angela Ben-Zachary. I'm the Early Childhood Recruitment and Retention Manager in the Department of Early Childhood, and I'm here with Stephanie Hickman as well. I'll let her come off mute and introduce herself.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Stephanie Hickman. I am the Early Childhood Workforce Manager. So first, I think Angela and I just want to say thank you so much for inviting us to present on this really exciting new pilot project, the Teacher Salary Increase pilot. And we'll go ahead and get into the details. But before we do that, I wanted to just give a little bit of context for the background. You know, it is, I think I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but compensation has been an issue, and it continues to be an issue for the field. And access to quality early childhood education is essential to Colorado's continued success, given that it can have lasting positive effects on children and can allow families to work. We saw this through the pandemic, but early childhood teachers who provide this care are poorly paid, and that's due to a variety of factors. But when we really look at it, it's really in part due to the fact that families just cannot pay more, and programs can't raise wages because they can't pay, they cannot charge more, and families can't pay it if they do. So Colorado researchers, experts, and industry leaders have highlighted the need to improve workforce compensation for the early childhood professionals in order to address the shortage of qualified professionals in several studies, including the Early Childhood or Workforce 2020 Plan and the Colorado Senate Bill 19063, Infant and Family Child Care Action Plan. So it's highlighted. We know that this is an issue, and an economic analysis of early childhood education in Colorado estimated that reducing a provider's turnover rate by 10%, just 10%, can save the program about $6,500 annually. And that's huge. And a lot of research studies have found that low wages are a key factor, not the only factor, but a key factor that contributes to increased early childhood educator turnover, and better pay supports retention. So with that, we just wanted to share a little bit about the wage information that we were looking at. So some previous survey work in Colorado showed that 1 in 3 early childhood educators or teachers relied on public assistance programs for financial stability. 1 in 3. So through some analysis of our recent stabilization grant data, we found that average assistant teachers bring home about, they bring home $16.35 an hour, and a lead teacher brings home $20.75 an hour. And so we provided some comparisons here to get a sense of what this means in Colorado, where an assistant teacher would need a 61% raise to meet a living wage, and a lead teacher would need to essentially double their wage to reach parity with a kindergarten teacher. So with that background, as a result of Senate Bill 21236, CDEC has the opportunity to conduct a pilot study that allows eligible entities to apply for a grant to increase the salaries of its early childhood educators. So that's teachers and assistant teachers. We'll talk a little bit more about this pilot in just a minute. But this will move wages closer to a livable wage. So we want to share with you all of the planning that we've done to design this pilot in response to the needs in the field, while also thinking very carefully about what actually has the greatest chance of success and sustainability. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Angela, who will go into what the pilot is.
Thanks, Stephanie. So you may or may not be aware, but we have very limited funding to run this pilot. So we've been granted about $3 million annually for the next several fiscal years to distribute funding to increase wages. So we had to think very carefully about how we can set rates that would genuinely make a difference in the lives of our teachers without running out of funding. So this is going to look a little different than our originally scoped project. If you were aware of what we had published last year, we were looking at a pilot that would serve about 2,400 professionals with about $1,200 annually. And that's really just a drop in the bucket and not nearly close enough to the livable wages that Stephanie was talking about in the previous slide. So what we're looking at is a salary increase that would be provided to teachers in randomly selected early childhood centers that enroll at least 50% of the children in their program receiving the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program, and that was the CCAP reception is mandated in law, and the number of students was something that we had the choice for. And so we really wanted to narrow it down on those that are really basing a majority of their revenue on families receiving CCAP. And they have to be level 3 through 5 on the QRIS rating system. Again, that was also mandated in law. This allowed us to reach a reasonable number of programs who meet this criteria. And instead of allowing for a first come, first serve basis for this grant project, we're actually, that would disproportionately affect programs that maybe have less staffing or aren't as savvy with application processes like this. We're actually going to be running a random assignment process for this so that we can attach a rigorous design process for evaluation so that we can really speak to how this wage increase will influence teacher recruitment, retention, and economic well-being. So this will have traction and influence for future investment and decision-making on the best approach for wage increases. So we're also working to ensure that a portion of this funding will be designated for family childcare providers that will be eligible for a different pilot program specifically designed to address financial stability of professionals in home-based settings. And that process won't be announced until a future date. So this is really centric on center-based care. So what does that all mean? We are looking at approximately 2% of all licensed childcare programs that would be eligible for this due to that very small pot of funding that we were talking about. So we expect that about 75 childcare programs across the state will be eligible, and only about 20 to 25 programs would be selected to receive the funding. So we'll have 75 that would be a part of that random assignment process, and only 20 to 25 would be selected. And this equates to about 300 to 320 early childhood teachers that would receive the wage increases. There will be targeted marketing and communication efforts to inform this very small group of childcare programs that are eligible. And the goal is to ensure that all programs and teachers have the information they need to best make the decision for them on whether they'd like to join this pilot process or not. And again, we mentioned that family childcare providers will be eligible for a different process in the future. To achieve the goal of a livable wage, we had to acknowledge that livable wages are different across the state. Just like the CCAP rate is responsive to the same factors across counties. So there are only 14 counties that house programs meeting that criteria that we mentioned of having at least 50% of children in the program receiving CCAP and meeting that level 3 through 5 in the QRIS. We used MIT's livable wage calculator for each county to determine the livable wage for a person with one child. So I know that's a limiting factor. We couldn't explore all family sizes, but that was the most consistent that we could make. And the wage increase that will be given to an assistant teacher equals the difference between the livable wage for an individual in that county with one child and the average assistant teacher wage. So that 1635 average that Stephanie was mentioning, we looked at that specific to these counties and then looked at the livable wage and made that calculation. So this is, again, based on a lot of data that we've been collecting through stabilization grants. Then lead teachers will be given a wage increase that is 20% higher than the increase for assistant teachers to reflect the differences in role, experience, and education, and really prevent compression in a program's wage offerings. So this is consistent with the difference we know that programs on average maintain between those roles based on that data that we were using. So this will equate to wage increases from about $3 at the lowest for assistant teachers all the way up to about $7.60 for lead teachers in those higher cost regions. So I'm going to pass it back to Stephanie to talk a little bit more about selection.
Thanks, Angela. So this slide really is just a synthesis of what we've been talking about. So lead teachers, co-teachers, assistant teachers, or classroom aides who are assigned to infant and toddler and preschool classrooms who work part-time, which we defined as at least 16 hours, or work full-time are eligible for this wage increase. And at this time, like Angela mentioned, the funding is we don't have a lot of funding, right? We have $3 million, so it's limited and and unfortunately cannot cover wages or wage increases for teachers at all eligible centers in Colorado. So for this reason, as we noted previously, we will use a lottery-like system or process to allow for equitable distribution of funding. And so it will also allow CDEC to credibly evaluate the effects of the wage increase on teacher recruitment, retention, and economic well-being. And we'll do this by comparing outcomes for teachers at centers that receive the funding with teachers at centers that do not receive this funding. And just one more note, at this time, the funding is not available for program administrators, directors, subs, floaters, itinerant teachers. We really are focused in on early childhood teachers and assistant teachers. So let's go ahead and take a look at how programs will receive the funding. So if an early childhood program is randomly selected to receive this funding, they will receive a monthly payment from Metrics IQ, which is the same vendor as the sustainability grants, based on the number of staff participating. So programs will be expected to increase teacher wages by a specified amount that is reflected in teachers' weekly, biweekly, or monthly paycheck. So if positions are open at the time of application, directors will be asked to note the expected salary for that staff position, and funding will be allocated once the position is filled. So we have a system in place for that. And if someone vacates a position during the funding period, then we will hold funds for that position until it's rehired. So child care programs can advertise open positions at the higher rate. So some considerations, like we've really been talking at length about how to ensure that we build this program to protect the individuals so that they may opt out to change or opt in or out and determine their participation at any time. So we're exploring some technical assistance opportunities to support individuals in their decision to either participate in this pilot or not. And so there'll be more information to come on that. And so we just wanted to share that, we have thought about some of the potential barriers or questions, like I said, considerations that both programs and individuals should think about. So with that, I'll turn it to Angela, and so she can share some exciting news that is hot off the press in terms of timeline.
Yes, so we were super excited to talk about the launch of the project and give you all a lot of lead time to think about how you might be able to support programs in their decision making on whether they might participate or not. So we are anticipating launch of the application at the end of September. And we have a dedicated process that we've been working on so that we would be using existing PDIS and QRIS structures to minimize the amount of data input that we're requesting from programs. So we'll have kind of an initial questionnaire. They'll have a component that aligns with the licensing requirement for programs to go in and update their operational status in October. So when they're doing all of that, we'll ask them to take that just one quick step further and double check that all of their staff are noted correctly in their QRIS listing, and also request that their staff, triple check their PDIS and make sure that it is as up to date as possible, because we're going to be using those systems to track the retention of staff throughout the project period. So that will take place from the end of September through October. Once they complete that process, we will be going through and doing the random assignment process in late October. And by early November, we will have the program selections and notifications going out. So really early in November, programs will be finding out if they have the opportunity to participate. And then their individual staff will be able to choose if they want to opt in or opt out. And we'll have a webinar that's going to be really beneficial for individuals to watch, to talk a little bit more about their the implications for public benefits and their income and some of that, as Stephanie mentioned, so that we can really support their decision-making process. And then from there, the selected programs, as well as the control group, will be asked to do a very short monthly attestation of sorts, very similar to what we're doing with sustainability grants. Again, we're trying to mimic processes that they're already familiar with. And so Metrics will be supporting on that data collection. And then individuals will have a periodic survey. So all of the teachers that are receiving the wage increase will also have a survey process after that. So we've put a lot of thought into how we can evaluate that and get information back from programs. And so again, we wanted to give you all some lead time to think about this project and give us any feedback. So we're requesting that if you have any immediate feedback, you can send that directly to me. We'll be posting a frequently asked question on the Our Stimulus website in the very near future, like within, I hope, the next 2 weeks. And then we'll have a generic email available for programs or councils at that point to send their questions to if they have any other outstanding things once that FAQ is published. So with that, we would love to hear if you have any questions or comments on the design that we've noted today. Otherwise, we would look forward to hearing from you at a different time.
Not seeing anything in the chat. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, make sure to get in touch with Stephanie or Angela. Thank you both so much. This is another really exciting opportunity, and I know we've been asking about it and thinking about it for a long time. So it's really exciting to see it finally lift off the ground. All right. Moving right along, Jennifer O'Brien. Let's hope Google Meet is nice to you today. Cool. I can see your presentation. So far, so good.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Okay,
Cool.
all right. You see the presenter view? Hopefully you do.
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. All right, hi everybody. Just here with you today to talk a little bit about some transitions that are happening with our team here at CDE. So I'll get going here. So the Early Childhood Workforce Development Team at CDE is sunsetting. Okay, but the work continues. So, following the recommendation of the ECLC, the Early Childhood Professional Credential, the help desk, and the training alignment process will now be housed at the Colorado Department of Early Childhood. And at the same time that transition is happening, there's some early childhood career navigation work that's starting at CDE in close collaboration with the Department of Early Childhood. You know, when the ECLC was looking at programs that would transfer from CDE to the new department, the career navigation team wasn't formed yet, so they made the decision to have it start at CDE and then reevaluate its placement in a couple of years, in about 2 years. So going a little deeper, here's a slide about transitions among team members. So as a fully staffed team, and the last time we were a fully staffed team was late 2021, we were 7 FTE. And then 3 of our PDIS techs found other job opportunities. One actually went to OEC/CDEC, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few slides. Made for a really great transition of the help desk. And then we were a team of 4 towards the end of state fiscal year 22. So the statewide career navigation team at CDE is me, and then my colleague Charlene Chipetti, and my other colleague, Amy Oliver, okay? And then Stephanie, you want to jump in here on this one?
Sure. Yeah. First, I just think that we should take a second to recognize all of the work that Jennifer has done for workforce at CDE. So thank you, Jen, for everything. I had the pleasure of working with her years ago on that team, and I'm just excited to have been able to work with her in this transition. So this, what you're seeing here is the result of that transition and what this new team or structure looks like. So we're really excited to share that Mary, the training and alignment coordinator, decided to follow the work that she's just been building over the past several years. So she will be officially at CDEC on Monday. So she will be working with Jennifer McDonald and the training and instructional design team. As Jennifer mentioned, Brenda transitioned a little earlier this summer. She was a help desk technician and transitioned to the help desk manager. She's been amazing, and we have since hired a couple help desk techs, Candace and Sean, who report to Brenda. It's so great to have both Mary and Brenda and all of their historical knowledge. So the next new iteration of this team will be the credential team, and that will consist of the early childhood professional credential manager and then an early childhood professional credential TNTA specialist. The manager position was posted and closed as of the 15th. So we are in the process of reviewing and interviewing for that position. So again, I hope you feel the love, Jennifer, with all of the comments. Thank you for everything. And we're so excited to continue our work with you as the career navigation director.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. So, you know, we've been working to transition the credential over the past few months. As you might imagine, you know, doing activities like, you know, training, office hours, strengthening our policies and procedures, our standard operating procedures, creating how-to videos, this sort of thing. And, you know, we're working toward an end of August final release. I think some of you know, the activities will kind of go into the fall, but for the most part, it will be an end of August release. And then we'll be working with Stephanie and just working with so many of the folks, you know, who are willing to support this transition over at the new Department of Early Childhood. So let me go ahead and check the chat here. My screen sort of takes up.
I think it's just a lot of thank yous.
Okay.
And
Oh,
rocks.
that's very nice.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
monitoring
you,
you.
guys. Okay,
Lots of appreciation for you, Jennifer.
wonderful. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, so the career navigation work, I don't need to tell anyone on this webinar that, there's so much opportunity in the early childhood space right now, so many options around kind of initial and ongoing preparation, qualification supports, that sort of thing, some of which we heard about today. And as a result of that, it can be a tiny bit dizzying, right? And frustrating to make your way into and around a career in early childhood. We know this. And so this is where career navigation comes in, right? And, the hope and the goal is that we can turn what sometimes can be a complicated journey into the profession into something that, looks a little bit more like this. We're really looking to ease things for people and get our professionals connected to what they need when they need it. And, many of us have been doing career navigation either formally or informally for many years, right? But now there's sort of a formalized effort underway at the state level. And again, as many of you know, this has been a need that, gosh, I remember, I don't know, it could have been as many as 10 years ago that, councils were really talking about the need for this, right? And as also many of you know, a few of them have been funded and supported by Early Milestones Colorado to kind of incubate innovation and begin a career navigation project. And so because of that, we get to kind of come in as collaborators and not start from scratch due to their effort and really deep understanding of the early childhood workforce development space. So I'm really hoping for a strong state-local partnership here. And then, the CDE team's experience on the help desk set the stage also, right? So we really know that side-by-side assistance is critical to navigating these systems. We always felt that we wanted to offer this kind of support, but struggled with the capacity to do that. And now we have that capacity, okay? This slide is a little bit about how early childhood career navigation is starting at the state level, right? So in the same way that early childhood space is receiving relief and recovering funding, the K-12 world is also receiving that kind of funding, right? So one of the major funding streams is ESSER, which stands for Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Funding. And with that funding, CDE has committed sort of broadly to strengthening the teaching workforce. And then within CDE, there was a recruitment and retention team that is being expanded, and an early childhood component is being added, and that's the early childhood career navigation team. And I just have to say here that even though the work will be based out of CDE, it will really only be as good as the partnership with CDEC, and that we know we need to strengthen the mixed delivery system. So we'll be working cross-sector, cross-setting, not just within school districts, right? Including family, friend, and neighbor care to build the workforce that we need to implement UPK and sort of generally in Colorado. Okay, so what will the team be doing? Initially some foundation building sorts of things. So we've got a vision and a mission in place. You can read them here on this slide, working out a logic model, which I'll talk about in a couple of slides, working on a work plan, and then, really knowledge building. We can only connect, early childhood professionals to the resources we know about. And so we are creating the beginning of a shared resource library. And then we're acting as backbone support for a community of practice that we'll start to bring together. So those are the first sorts of things. But in addition to these foundation building activities, we're kind of hitting the ground running, right? We're already helping folks with career navigation kinds of questions and challenges. Okay. Here's our first shot at a logic model, right? So just kind of making sure at the outset that we have what we need to get where we want to go, right? And I think that the column that might be most interesting to you is the second one around activities. And, you know, so obviously we need to get the word out that that's what where we're here for. And I also have to point out, guys, my little running coffee cup slide. This is an email address that we have set up that all three of us are manning and getting to people within 24 hours. Okay, so send people to us if you feel like, you know, you need our help, or we could work with an individual together. Okay. So back to our activities column. We are able to fund and provide assistance with the process around international transcript evaluation. So please also keep that in mind in your community. This can be an expensive service, but we are able to both pay for that evaluation and translation and help people through the process, okay? And then, you know, we'll, you know, provide information and side-by-side support around, you know, formal education, training, financial resources, wellness, qualification pathways, that sort of thing. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll support a peer learning community around career navigation. We're looking to increase the relevance of and the utilization of teachcolorado.org in the early childhood space. We're doing a small project around verifying CDAs so that Front Range Community College will transcribe the CDA to credit. And then we'll be, you know, working on policy improvement sorts of things, right? So with the idea that as we're helping people navigate into and around the field, that we make sort of those roads a little bit easier to travel. And then, you know, evaluation will be built in at the beginning, because we kind of think that a strong implementation equals strong outcomes. And if you never really know about the strength of your implementation, you can forget about strong outcomes. So, you know, before we finalized our work plan, we kind of wanted to, you know, share this information with our partners, and just checking my time here, and, you know, get some feedback from people. So the feedback that we've received thus far is that it has to be hands-on, right? That side-by-side thing is really key. We have to include family, friend, and neighbor care, and all adults who care for and educate young children. There are lots of suggestions in here about sort of where to find our future teachers, right? Where to find our future early childhood professionals. There was a suggestion around exploring Montessori co-ops. Definitely want to maintain close alignment with CDEC workforce initiatives. We were encouraged to pay attention to Circle grant recipient overlaps and connects. Encouraged to explore connections with higher ed career navigation work. So also encouraged to work toward a graceful handoff of folks between the early childhood and K-12 space. We're kind of housed in the same organizational structure as the K-12 recruitment and retention team. So that works in our favor. Philosophically, we're in support of this. Now we're building technology to make that handoff seamless. You know, there was one idea about creating a map of who's doing what in the early childhood career navigation space. Also an idea about a journey map of how to get into the field. I think of My Colorado Journey as similar to that, and that maybe that could be strengthened. An idea around connecting with Katie Poston around family, friend, and neighbor care, also the Colorado Statewide Parent Coalition. Another candidate pool is high schoolers, and then at the other end of the spectrum, kind of our Encore or Second Mountain career changers. And then there was also a suggestion about exploring a recruiting event at Rocky Mountain Early Childhood Conference. We want to work with concurrent enrollment instructors. The TREP program, which is it's something that CDE is administering, I suppose is the best way to put it, but it creates opportunity for qualified students in an educator pathway to concurrently enroll in post-secondary courses for the 2 years after the 12th grade year. And so we'll be working with them, and then also to work with ECLA's career navigation efforts. I'm going to take a drink of water here. And then as far as your thoughts on what else we might do, we're hoping to have a conversation with many of you. And so we'll have a team member reaching out to many of the people on this phone call to sort of understand what can we do to partner, what can we do to support, you know, recruiting and retaining more teachers. And then, you know, if you have thoughts before we get in touch with you, you're welcome to email me. I would love to hear from you. So that's all I have. Ooh, 2 o'clock. Woo!
Perfect timing. Thank you so much, Jennifer. We really appreciate the presentation, and please get in touch with Jennifer if you have any additional questions. All right. Kristen and Marika.
Thank you, Charlie, and Megan will be joining us also. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kristen Ling. I'm the Program Access Manager for the Preschool Development Grant Unit at our Department of Early Childhood. I'm here with my colleague Marika Padilla and also Megan LeClaire to give you a few updates about various preschool development grant projects. The first one I am excited to share with you is that we have the finalized versions of our childcare business guides. These are available in both Spanish and English for family childcare homes or childcare centers. The PDG team created these resources because our 2019 Comprehensive Needs Assessment identified enhancing licensing and business support as one of the 12 key needs for our state. And that was a need that was also underscored during that Senate Bill 63 Infant and Family Child Care Home Action Plan, where we were supposed to understand more about why we were losing licensed infant care and family child care homes and come up with some solutions that would help reverse those trends. So definitely a key need, and I'm sure it doesn't surprise anyone on the call. You know, we often talk about how folks enter this profession because they are passionate about helping children and families, and not because they're passionate about budgeting and marketing and those kinds of things. But we all know that, particularly in a landscape where the vast majority of our providers are small private businesses, that is a necessary skill set in order to be able to provide continuity of care and have a sustainable business. So with this need identified, we wanted to create a strategy in the Colorado Shines Brighter strategic plan that was developed through PDG to think about creating and accomplish creating more resources that support the business acumen of our providers. And so this slide just gives you an overview of the process of creating these guides. It was 2 years in the making, so starting with initial drafting in 2020. And what you see here is that it really was a statewide collaborative effort involving so many members of our PDG team, other departmental units, our agency partners, our statewide organizational and community partners, and most importantly, providers. And so you'll see on Q3, PDG follows a calendar year, so everything here is broken up by calendar year, but in Q3 of calendar year 2021, we're able to bring the initial drafted guides to providers, both through their associations and directly through focus groups. So one that was center specific, one that was family child care home specific, and another focus group that mixed the two audiences. And of course, they gave us incredibly valuable feedback. And one of the key pieces of feedback they gave us was that this guide, which originally was one guide that had sort of specific call outs for family child care home information or center information, should be two separate guides, that, you know, there's enough differences between the business structure of the two models that they should live as separate resources. And so that was really valuable feedback from our providers, and of course brought us to the two separate guides that we have today. So after we were able to kind of split those two and finalize the content, it was an all hands on deck PDG team effort to get these products to final stages. You'll see that for the next couple of quarters of this year, we plan to work with Epic to develop an employer-based childcare addendum that'll go with the center guide, and also start planning the process for our first comprehensive update to the content. This slide just includes links to each guide. We're gonna, of course, share the slides with Charlie, and I know Marika's dropping these in the chat now, but just in case you wanna save this deck, you can go in and just click on the guide, and Marika figured out how that then, you know, just takes you to that landing page for the guide, so pretty cool. But wanted to spend a little bit of time peeking inside and giving you a preview of what you'll find when you do have time to sit down and dive into it. So this slide just really represents how comprehensive the information is in each of these guides. This is the table of contents for the Family Childcare Home Guide. You'll see we cover everything from licensing and quality ratings to successful business planning, financials, you know, what are the different public programs that you can participate in to cover the cost of caring for children or the cost of providing food, training requirements, professional development opportunities, and then just a host of other resources that are helpful to childcare businesses. And the same is true of the Child Care Center table of contents, similar breadth of topics covered there. So this peek inside to the Child Care Center guide shows you what our sections that relate to those public revenue programs look like. So what we did for CCAP and the other programs that are available that support covering the cost of serving children or serving food is kind of break it down. So it's really easy for providers to know what they're getting into and what they can get out of participating in these programs. So we cover, you know, what it is, what are the requirements for a provider to participate, how do they apply, what happens if they're chosen, how they're paid, which is important information to know, and also the benefits of participating. This example inside the center guide is to demonstrate how we've attempted to simplify some information that can feel a little complicated, like licensing regulations, for example, utilizing design features. And so this is just an example of that with a chart that reviews the ratios and maximum group sizes for childcare centers in a visual format. The next sort of peek inside here relates to the Family Childcare Home Guide. What you'll notice here is that we've tried to make it really accessible and clear what someone might need to do in order to start a new family childcare home program. So we remind them, hey, if you're renting your home or your apartment, you might need to, or you do need to check in with your landlord and make sure it's okay to operate a family childcare home. But if you own, hey, by the way, Colorado has this law that says HOAs cannot prohibit you from operating. And we wanted to kind of bring that information out and into the fore. And then, you know, covering, you need to check in with zoning and fire code, and hey, there's this background check and piece, and it can take a little while. So plan for that. So, you know, this is just one example of what the department is doing to demystify that process. And it'll be partnered with the family childcare home orientation training that our licensing team is putting on. You'll also notice perhaps with the incredible new pre-licensing training that Christine talked about at the beginning of this meeting, that our business guide is one of the resources that's included in there too. So we're trying to cross-reference everywhere. So just a few interesting features to note about the guide. This is definitely an online resource. This is not something to download and save to your desktop. And the reason being is that it's heavily linked. And so Megan LeClaire from our team went through and cataloged all the links in just one guide. There are 199 And so those links are going to have problems. They're going to break. We're going to fix them continuously as we become aware of that. But we want to make sure you always have the most up-to-date version. So you need to just always go to the links that Marika provided, and we're able to manage versions on our end so that link stays stable, but the content gets updated. And the reason why we designed it this way is because we knew there was so much business information and resources and organizations that were out there that we didn't need to reinvent the wheel or create like a 300-page document. We wanted to just make it everything in one place and easy to access. So that's why it's in that online format. We do have a form that's included in the introduction, and it's also here to suggest content changes. You can also let us know if you notice a broken link through that form. As I mentioned, we're going to try to keep the links working throughout, but we are only going to do comprehensive content changes periodically. And so the first one will be, as I mentioned, beginning of 2023. And there's an email list you can also sign up for in the introduction if you want just the extra push and reminder, because of course you're always going to go to the link to get the most recent guide, and that would include the content changes, but this will just be an extra reminder that we've made some more significant revisions. Rika included a link to the marketing message for these guides. Please share them widely. The marketing message is available in both English and Spanish on that document. Okay, additional PDG updates. So we wanted to just take a minute to give everyone an update about what's going on with the childcare business training and consultation. Really excited, you all have seen this slide before, but really excited that both Larimer and Mesa have joined the project. And so those councils and their small business development centers are working on childcare business training in their communities. And just a reminder that free consultation is available to all providers, even if they don't attend the training. Each of the trainings, most of the trainings, I should say, we might have some variation in this coming up, but most of the trainings that are available through this project are done virtually. And so folks can participate from across the state too as well, just in case your local small business development center isn't participating. I want to take a pause. We've been trying to bring some of the data around this project back to you all to emphasize the efficacy of it. So this chart shows we grouped already licensed providers that took the training into different cohorts based on when their training concluded. So the first cohort is October to December 2020 and so on. Cohort 2 is March to June 2021 because we didn't have training April to June. But what this chart shows you is how those providers continue to operate as we check in on them at least 3 months after the end of their training and all the way up now to at least 18 months after the end of their training. And the data looks pretty darn good. And, you know, the first cohort that went through, and this is, you know, when we're still trying to get our bearings really with the training, only 2 providers of that first cohort have since ceased operating. So exciting data, and we're only getting better with each iteration and the closer connection between the training SBDCs and the councils that they're working with. These are some recent survey comments, and so participants are finding this very valuable. I want to note the comment in the upper right hand corner, you know, just the fact that this person, it was the first time that they had a course like that in Spanish in their, you know, 9 years of working in this field. So definitely please keep promoting the training. We have a Spanish language training coming up offered by Aurora South Metro in partnership with Arapahoe Early Childhood Council. And that registration link Marika is going to drop in the chat. This is fully delivered in Spanish, and it is virtual. So if you have Spanish providers in your community, you can share that with them. Just a reminder again that, you know, we are supporting the involvement of our ECCs in this partnership with the small business development centers. There's all sorts of information on what that means and how to bill for the time involved when your Small Business Development Center comes to you to partner on a training like this. And I did want to point out too that one thing we heard is because these trainings are virtual and folks might participate from other communities, they still want that connection to their local council for support. And so we, based on feedback from the councils that participated last year and the small business development centers that participated last year, created just an easy opt-in form for any participant who are attending a training outside their council catchment area. They can indicate if they want connection to their council, and then we will connect them with you all. And we've talked with ECLA, and we'll be using the Family Child Care Home Navigators and the AOC roles as that point of contact where it makes sense. A quick note on the collaboration and coordination planning mini grants. Applications for the second round of this grant are open now. They are due September 9th. This is up to $10,000 for 6 to 10 communities. And the primary goal of this grant is to support a community organization working with other community organizations to better coordinate their local birth to 5 system around sort of whatever topic in the early childhood space makes sense to them. So we just wrapped our first round of grantees. Teller Park Early Childhood Council, Boulder Early Childhood Council, Larimer Early Childhood Council, and ECPAC were all among the grantees for our first round. So talk to them about their experience, but I think everyone really appreciated the intentional resourcing of planning time. If you want to hear a little bit more about how that first round went, you can click on the video here when you get the slides, but please consider applying. I am running out of time and I know the meeting ends soon, so I will let you all kind of review what everybody did with their partners through the grant in the first iteration. I'm going to kick it over to Megan to run through some other work that we've done.
Hi, good afternoon. This will be quick, but just wanted to give you all an update on the CCAP application and redetermination form rewrite work group process. So it's a mouthful, but starting 2 years ago, more than 2 years ago, another one of our long-term projects was this initiative to revise the CCAP application and redetermination form. So you can see on the slide this timeline process. First I'll mention the purpose of this work group and this whole project was twofold. First, it was to make the application and the form easier for families to understand and complete accurately. And then secondly, it was to make sure that the application and redetermination form would provide a meaningful opportunity for connection to other services in which families may be interested or eligible. And so, like I was saying, the process timeline here on the slide is showing that throughout this little over 2 year process, we have collaborated with the Family Voice Council, and we've gotten parent feedback, and CCAP County staff have been heavily involved in the process, and we formed the work group at the end of last summer, and then through that work group came the idea to tackle the redetermination form. So the initial work group was just for the CCAP application, and everyone was like, hey, why aren't we also going to make changes to the redetermination form? And since everything was fresh in our minds, we were able to quickly convene a work group in the latter half of 2021 and get that solidified as well. So now these are done and some chats modifications have been completed, and we've also we've made them fillable PDFs, and we've also been able to translate them into Spanish. So this slide will just show that we're really proud that we had a diverse work group membership. We had work group members from urban and rural counties that you can see on the screen here. And so that really helps to inform all of the different perspectives from different types of folks that we serve across the state. Okay, Marika's doing it. Woohoo! I was like, I'm not prepared for this, but she's putting the links in the chat. There's so many of them, but they're really great forms. We hope you can take take a look at them if you haven't interacted already, and just you'll see some updates there. So again, you can get the links in the slide deck or the chat.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Lots of amazing work going on. All right. So I think we just have a couple announcements that we saved here for the end. So Christy, do you want to take it away with your indoor air quality and early childhood mental health spiel?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Christy Ressler, the Stabilization Grants Manager. And I'm going to share my screen real quick. Let's see here. Great, I have it up. Oh, here we go. Sorry about that. I know everyone is probably, your minds are probably spinning with all of the information that we've been sharing. But this is our Growing Forward website, and the page that has for childcare programs at the top. If you scroll down, you will see health and mental health grants. And I wanted to let everybody know that we had such a great response in the first week that this application was opened. It opened on Monday, August 15th, that we have met the total grant award, and the applications are now closed. So Metrics will be communicating with providers, those providers that have applied, and that their applications, will be processed. And for those providers that didn't have a chance to apply, we just did not anticipate the response that we got. Also, this page will have information about our Improving Air Quality grant that will be opening up later this fall. We are working on creating guidance that will be shared with all providers. And there is a small grant that is going to be available in the next couple of months for those providers that want to update their HVAC units or their portable air quality units as well. So if you have any questions about either the health and mental health or the indoor air quality, you can contact me, and I'll put my email in the chat.
Thank you. Any follow-up questions for Christy? It looks like there has been some activity in the chat, so just pay attention. There have been some questions and answers for Kristen. And then Lilith is going to make a quick announcement regarding merit award checks.
Yes, so I just wanted to remind people as I find my screen that when you are cutting checks to programs that have received a merit award, again, we strongly suggest that cutting a check is the preferred method. When you're doing this, just being able to mark it correctly and accurately so that it will show up in the 4 new rows that are available now in your invoice template for TSQI and ESQI. I know I've gotten a couple of questions on this, and basically before you reconcile a record, you have to be marking it, is it a direct payment for a merit award? If it is, then mark yes. If it is not, then mark no. I think that this was introduced, kind of at a time where people were kind of getting the hang of it and just wanting to make sure that we're getting that correct reporting for the state needs. So there's all of these lovely articles available on the EC Connect help desk, as well as a couple of different reports, which I can pop into the chat as well in Sugar if you're using that, to find which payments have been made directly to sites or which have been requested. And that's this report that I just popped in there, as well as just how many quality merit awards your council has seen from your programs, who has earned it. And I'm going to pop that report in the chat now. And then I'll probably include this one because I didn't, for that merit award reconciliation. As you are marking the record as reconciled, then billing it to the CDEC, you want to make sure that you are marking it appropriately. And so, like I said, that article is here as well, that last link I just popped in. And I know that the help desk, the EC Connect help desk is more than happy to assist with this. I am also happy to field questions if it comes up in a more detailed way. But I know that the EC Connect help desk will definitely always help you guys out, and I can pop in that website if I can get it into the chat now, and that way you can just kind of see all of those articles as well as be able to submit a ticket if you have any further questions.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, I know there have been a few issues with merit awards that have popped up. Just if there's anything going on, reach out to your program officer. We're happy to support you. Just a reminder that your programs will need an active MOU for that automatic transfer to take place. So that may be a piece of it. But again, if you're having any other issues, please reach out. All right, we are nearing the end of our time. Something that we wanted to just ask about is it seems like the end of these state TA days, sometimes we're kind of trying to rush in a lot of information and not as much time. However, we also understand that 2 hours can be an extremely long meeting, which is why we've been keeping this to an hour and a half. I'm just going to take a quick poll of you guys whether or not we should extend state TA day to 2 hours. So I'm trying out this poll just to get a quick little pulse, because I know that sometimes we're trying to rush in information, but I also want to be very intentional with everybody's time. So let me launch this. Let's see what happens. I've never done a poll before, so I don't know. And if we don't extend state TA day, we're happy to continue to send follow-up information and things like that, kind of the way we've been doing. But we really want to give everyone the opportunity. This is a very unique time where we're all together, and there's been so much going on with the office that we've really seen a need to maybe increase the time. Cool. And yeah, I was thinking that too, that if we set it for 2 hours, we could always end it early if we didn't fill the time. But I just feel like I've been cutting people off of their presentations and having to, push people to the next month. And there's just so much going on. All right. Cool. This poll thing is pretty neat. So it looks like 26 voted yes, 8 voted no. So we'll take it back to the team and we'll discuss, but I also appreciate the comments that, we might want some more time for questions and things like that. I hate rushing through really important information just because we're all on the schedule. So, all right, cool. It sounds like we're kind of leaning towards extending by 30 minutes. Like that idea, include a short breather break and yoga stretch. Very cool. All right, guys, lots of information today. I'll be sending out the follow-up email as always with the recording and all of these wonderful presentations. We appreciate the work that you are all doing so much. So cool to see all of these exciting initiatives finally lifting off, stuff we've been talking about for over a year now. And we really appreciate all your commitment to the kids of Colorado. So have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, a wonderful weekend. Diane, I do not think I have you on my list. Send me an email. Send me an email to remind me, and I'll make sure to put you on there. All righty, awesome. Thank you all so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.